Hey everybody, Jason from @scoon.art here with a little face reveal, and thought we'd do a little art year in review and looking forward to 2026. I think it was a pretty good year for making art and comics. I put out 3 books of my own this year. 2 comics, Alpha Online, Not My IP, Not My Problem, and an art book collecting some Inktober drawings from last year. Um, Pretty blessed to be able to teach at the art museum. I taught a zine class and some comics classes for kids. This is a little zine I made of. I went around and did blind contour portraits of the kids just to kind of show them, you know, a zine can be anything. And I was featured in several books. I collaborated with some artist friends. I had a story I wrote and penciled appear in the Crom anthology book here, called Kromdahar, based loosely on the Giant of Kandahar story. Um, Great collection by Kurt Bruegel. You should check it out. I had a story in the Saturday AM Mashup fanzine celebrating Saturday morning cartoons, retro video games, sugary cereals, and all the stuff you, quite honestly, should probably let go. And I was asked by my friend Joey Fennell. He put out a colored version of his comic Hank the Artist, which is incredible. I plan to do a deep dive on all of his comics. I have everything he's done, and they're amazing. But he asked me for a pinup, so I provided a little pinup for him here. But yeah, it was a very good year, I think, for putting some stuff out. But I definitely have a lot of stuff I worked on that didn't quite make it to print, or I burned out on it, or it's still in progress. So come on over to the art table and let's take a deep dive, and maybe we'll figure out what our goals are for 2026. All right, so let's take a look at some artwork here. So 2025 was definitely a year in experimentation, not just for materials, but I think for marketing and figuring out how to get my name out there and build an audience. But I think all that kind of goes hand in hand. It's all kind of part of the same process, I think. So these ones here, I did like anime fests and stuff, trying to make artwork that would sell. Obviously, these ones didn't. But the lesson here, I also did artwork that was about half this size that sold immediately. So I think the lesson here that I learned was that if I make smaller pieces, I can make more of them. I can make them faster. These ones probably took about a week a piece, whereas the smaller ones I could do in almost like a day, maybe 2. But I sold all of my smaller ones at the Anime Fest. So yeah, that's the big takeaway. But that being said, this isn't necessarily a loss. It's still stock I could have for future cons or fests. But I also like to make my own prints with these. I screen print, so I'll scan the inks. I could put these on t-shirts, postcards. If something sells, that means it'll sell again probably. And you could sell it on a 5x7 and market it as a postcard or as an art print on an 8x10. I mean, there's a million ways to sell your prints to get them to move fast. So that was the big takeaway for that, I think. So going forward, when I go to the next Anime Fest, I'm kind of there's an artist on Instagram that I like named David B. Cooper who had a project drawing every Simpsons character. So I have until June to draw. I'm going to kind of use that as a framework, but apply it to Dragon Ball Z because I like Dragon Ball Z. And just kind of do that. Draw as many of the characters as I can before June. Build up a stock of these and just see how many will sell. Try to focus on one anime that I'm very familiar with, maybe a couple of others, and go from there. One of the other things I was really interested in, I do want to add color to my work. As far as how I practice that, I think observational drawing is probably the best thing you can do. This was from a picture I took at a place called God's Acre. It's like a natural spring you can go and collect water. But yeah, I thought this would be a great way to kind of practice and get used to, how to like achieve things like depth, or which I think I did a decent job at this. Some of this over here gets a little muddy, but this isn't the first watercolor I'll do. But yeah, a year in experimentation, adding color. As far as making comics, I definitely had some successes and some things I would consider failures. Let's go to a success here. This one didn't make it to print this year, and that's okay. But I really liked this story, and it helped me to. So this was taken from a dream journal I have, and it was a good way to kind of like take something that I had written in kind of an unstructured, reactionary way, and then try to give it some structure. And I feel like I did a pretty good job condensing something like that down to 4 pages and having it being kind of cohesive, but still maintain the feeling I feel like I get when I read that dream or recall it. Here's another project I was working on. The Dark Knight Tonight Returns. This was something I started last year, just taking the Dark Knight Returns, drawing it page by page, and swapping out the characters with fast food mascots and like YouTube personalities for the media chorus. I made it to about here, and then I burned out, started some other projects, and this is one where I think if I come back at it again, I'll probably have to take all of these, write a script based on what I have, change things, make some notes for panels I gotta change, because this is a very ambitious project that I'm just not giving I'm not giving it the proper time and respect, I guess. But parody comics are pretty big, and I think there's a way to do something beyond let's ape a known IP but add chainsaws and guns to it, which is fun, but we've already done that. Let's do something. Let's go a little deeper with it, you know? Not that I'm that guy, but maybe I can be that guy. Let's get here's some stuff that made it to publishing. Alpha Online was a really fun one. So this is a comic that I wrote a script for. I tried to treat it as if I was going to submit something like this to, you know, the writer's team or something, like as if I was applying for a job. So I wanted it very much to feel like an episode of Alf, with some added twist, you know, little updates. He gets a computer, access to the internet, blah, blah, blah. As far as materials, though, this is the first comic I did where I just drew it all the way with my favorite fountain pen, the Pilot Prera. And I was very happy with the success of it. There's definitely some things, you know, I don't know if I would light table this stuff again. That's the way I did it before. It came off pretty clean, but it was hard to get some of these things to look kind of exact. So I would consider this one a success. It made it to print. I'm really happy with the bootleg comic I made. I screen printed a bunch of covers for it and everything, and I don't know, I think it's pretty funny for a 9-page parody. Now we got Men in Black and Crom Dahar. So Men in Black was one that I experimented with screen tones. I'd never used them before. They're really cool. I mean, I love the texture and the like kind of retro vibe that it gives these, and I think it works particularly well for this story. However, I don't know that I would use these again in the future. I got these, I visited Savannah, Georgia Neighborhood Comics, and they sell them there. And I picked up a couple packs and used them on this page, and then I had 5 more pages to do or something like that. So I ended up spending way too much money just getting screen tones just to finish this. On top of that, they're kind of just a pain in the ass to work with too. They don't stick particularly well. I feel like I have to be way more precious with these than I would any of my other artwork. Yeah, I don't know that I'd do them again. Even digitally, I don't like to work digitally, so I don't even think I would add digital tones. I think if I added tones in the future, I'd have to come up with some other solution. I saw that they make stamps for them now, so that might be a fun way to experiment with adding this type of texture and like kind of mid-ground to your black and white work. But I'm also more interested now in like adding color to my work, and possibly if I did add tones, it would be just like gray washes and stuff like that. So yeah, again, it's a great like kind of legacy material, but I think why force something, you know, if it's you know, just because they used it in the past doesn't mean you still have to use it in the future, especially if it's not economical or practical or whatever. But I don't know, you tell me. And then here's the pencils for Crom Dahar. Kurt Bruegel, I worked with him for this. It was kind of an idea I had adapting the Giant of Kandahar story, but giving it a kind of sword and sorcery element in this larger Crom the Barbarian universe that seems to cross-reference with ours, complete with a Art Bell cameo. This was definitely working a lot outside of my comfort zone. It's a genre I don't read. I'm not super familiar with. I did read some Conan the Barbarians and the Crom stories before taking this on, so I had a little bit of an idea of like the different aesthetics you kind of have to go for. But I don't know. There's something about this I'm not like super satisfied with. I'd like to ink this to see if maybe it changes my mind on it. Kurt inked the versions that appear in the Crom anthology. So yeah, maybe it would change my mind if I inked these, and if anything, it would be fun to compare and contrast, and then maybe release a zine that kind of has both versions on them or something. But I don't know, something to look forward to in the future. And then as far as 2026 goes and what kind of artwork I'm looking forward to, I think I'm kind of just going back to the start here. But with everything that I've kind of learned in experimentation. The first comic I ever put out was something called Gut and Ghost. It was about a pile of guts and a ghost and their roommates, and their light goes out and they don't know how to change it. I think that's I don't know, there's something about that dynamic that really got me. And when I put out the book, I think I put it out too prematurely. I was still figuring out how to make comics. Like one of the big mistakes I think I made with that original book was formatting. When I went to go to print, my bleeds and my trim, I was losing all kinds of necessary information. So this time I'm doing that right. I'm using materials I want to use. This was all done with my fountain pen, and it's on watercolor paper. So instead of it being a strictly black and white comic, my plan for this is to have it in full color. Beyond 9 pages, I want it to be a full actual book that's the size of a book, not a zine. So that is my one goal for 2026 as far as like my comics output. My art output is always just keep that pen moving. Experiment with different things while you can, especially the watercolors. I'm having so much fun with those, so I'm definitely going to continue with that, do more observational drawing. And as far as marketing myself, going to more cons and being online less. I think I'm going to be changing a lot of my online strategy. I'm really enjoying doing the YouTubes the last like couple of months, just putting together these videos, filming process stuff, making little beats to put over it, although I'm sure that's something I enjoy more than the people watching it. And then doing like little voiceover scripts. This one I didn't write a script for, but we're just going off the cuff. But and maybe dialing back from some of the shorter form media. I really like the engagement I've been getting on YouTube and the growth since posting regularly. I still do Instagram, but I'm probably going to be scaling that back. Instagram has been great for meeting other artists, like my buddy Joey Fennell, who did that Hank the Artist. My buddy Cooper, my friend Deanna. I mean, I've made so many friends on there that I talk to regularly, and we share work with each other and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I think I'll just say this. There's we're gonna de-emphasize online community and emphasize real life community this year. So getting out to as many cons and fests as I can, getting my work in people's hands, and then maybe even like beyond that, like there's a lot of volunteer opportunities in my city for like at art galleries or oh gosh, I think there's an art market coming up they want volunteers for that I'm gonna throw my name in for, just to get it's a good way to meet people, and it's a good way to kind of give back to a community that is providing for you as an artist as well. I don't find that to be the same thing with the internet. It's oftentimes you end up getting thrown in these group chats or discords, and there's so many people in there with so many opinions that it's just you're better off just not doing that and just making your art in solitude, and then reaching out to people here and there as you can and forming those relationships. But real life, not the internet, that is where this stuff happens. So yeah, that's it for 2025, and I'm really looking forward to 2026. And hopefully, I'll see you at one of these many cons that I'm signed up for in the South.